Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Valerie Martin Conley, and I am Dean of the College of Education at UCCS and Professor of Leadership, Research, and Foundations. Before joining UCCS, I spent 13 years as a Professor of Higher Education and Student Affairs at Ohio University. I taught master's and PhD level courses in organization and governance, management of higher education, academic issues and the professoriate, policy and politics, and institutional research and assessment. I am delighted to be here with you today and to have the opportunity to participate in this question and answer session with distinguished alumna Dr. Patricia A. Erjavec, President of Pueblo Community College. Thank you to the SAHI faculty for including me in this event. Before we get started, I want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Erjavec for her partnership. We share a commitment to creating accessible, affordable, uninterrupted pathways for students pursuing post-secondary education in Colorado, especially in Southern Colorado, much of which is rural. Dr. Erjavec is a steadfast partner with us and a thought leader in pursuit of this goal. The College of Education's newest undergraduate degree program, the BA in Human Services, and Pueblo Community College's Behavioral Health degree are off to successful starts, in part because of the partnership between our two institutions. I just wanted to pause and express my gratitude to you, Dr. Erjavec, and to PCC Deans, Jeffrey Alexander and Mary Chavez, for working with us to develop this pathway for students. I'd also like to thank Chancellor Reddy, who may be on the call either now or at some point, and thank him for his leadership and support, which has made this partnership and this event possible. And now I'm delighted to turn it over to Christina Guerra, Student Affairs and Higher Education student at UCCS and Pueblo Community College employee, to introduce Dr. Erjavec. Christina.
Thank you. As you said, I am a first-year student in the SAHI program. I first started at Pueblo Community College in 2011 as the AmeriCorps director, and then moved over to the Learning Center as the operations coordinator. And there is where I really fell in love with PCC and received the encouragement from my own student employees and my colleagues to return to school. And I now am currently the retention coach in TRIO Student Support Services. So Dr. Erjavec, a Pueblo native, Dr. Patty Erjavec has served as president of Pueblo Community College since June 1st, 2010. She oversees PCC's main campus in Pueblo, as well as its Fremont campus in Canyon City and Southwest Colorado Community College. Campuses in Durango and Mancos and Cortez. She is the school's first female president. Her primary areas of emphasis during her tenure at PCC have been improving student success, retention, and graduation rates. In 2013, she was cited for her support of students by receiving the Colorado Community College System's Outstanding President Award and the Dr. Idalyn Carr Exemplary Leadership in Higher Education Award. She was presented with the Distinguished Service to Education Award by CSU Pueblo in 2013 for her current and cumulative efforts to aid students. In 2016, she received the Shirley B. Gordon Award of Distinction for her work with Phi Theta Kappa, the Community College Honor Society. Erjavec completed her PhD in Education Leadership, Research and Policy here at UCCS in 2015. She holds a master's degree in nonprofit management from Regis University and a bachelor's degree in business administration, with an emphasis in accounting from the University of Colorado, which is now Colorado State University, Pueblo.
Thank you, Christina, for that wonderful introduction. Now I'm going to turn to you, Dr. Erjavec, and the first question is, what made you choose a career in higher education?
Well, I think the career chose me, to be honest with you. I was appointed by the governor to serve on the State Board for Community Colleges and Occupational Education in 2000. And I served 2 full terms. And during those 8 years, I fell in love with the role and mission of community colleges. I had the opportunity to be on all 13 campuses and to meet hundreds of outstanding students as well as employees. And at the end of my term, it just so happened that there was an opening for a presidency in Pueblo, of all places. And I was asked to consider, and I took a leap of faith and never looked back. It's been a great experience, a learning experience, I have to admit. But I think it's been great for me and the college, the partnership that we have had going forward.
So this course of students that are joining us today are specifically studying student affairs in higher education. So student affairs has changed a lot over the years. What changes have you seen in student affairs during your career?
When I first came to PCC, I remember it was my first convocation. And I got up and I talked to the entire college about the importance of customer service. And oh my goodness, that went over like a lead balloon. As you can imagine, as someone who has had a great career in academia, customer service, student service, that's not why we're here. Well, of course it is. If we don't cater to our students and do everything possible to make sure that not only do we provide the access and the opportunity, but the support as they go through their journey, then we haven't done our job. And so I think that since that first discussion, when I talked about customer service or student service, and people kind of frowned upon that, now that is what every institution is talking about, the importance of providing our students with all the opportunities, the support services that they need to be successful.
Absolutely, and language is so powerful. And in higher education, the language we use is very different from the language in business. So
yes,
I've experienced that myself over the years, so that resonates with me. The rate of change is accelerating exponentially in higher education and in education generally, as we were talking before we started the session this morning, as a result of COVID-19. Across the country, leaders in higher education are responding to unprecedented challenges. Oh, and there it is again, unprecedented, right? I think we have never used that word as much as we have during the COVID-19 pandemic. So how are you handling the challenges associated with COVID-19 on your campus?
I think that first and foremost, we have recognized that it is absolutely essential to meet the students where they are. Mm-hmm. Gone are the days when you say, okay, we're going to offer English 121 on Mondays at 9 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, take it or leave it. Those days are gone. We must be willing to be more flexible, more agile, and more willing to meet our students where they need to be met. Whether it's in a face-to-face course or some sort of live virtual instruction, totally online, hybrid, we have to be able to offer all of these modalities and get really good at it if we truly want to keep our students engaged. So that's the work that we've been doing is, and it's interesting because even before COVID, we had begun talking about the need to be agile and flexible and willing to not just do things the way they've been done for years and years. And so while I can't tell you we were prepared for this pandemic in its entirety, I think we were positioned to be willing to take a look at the way we deliver our programs.
Yeah, and I've heard several leaders refer to, including our own Chancellor Reddy, refer to silver linings to the pandemic. And I think certainly accelerating the pace of change in integrating technology in particular into the learning experience for our students is one of those silver linings that I've heard lots of people talking about. So, you know, that's working with our current students, right? In terms of embracing technology and focusing in on making sure that we're flexible and changing our culture about really putting students first. How have your student recruitment efforts changed since COVID-19, or have they changed? And if so, what are you doing differently to reach new students?
So I do worry about this because part of the work that we do is about building relationships. And it's really hard to build a relationship virtually. So we are still fine-tuning all of that. But I would say that we are much more engaged with our students via social media. We're using the technology in ways that I'm not sure I can even clearly communicate to you. You know, it's amazing how we can find out what a student's interests are by which website they go to and how long they're on it and where they live. And then we take that information and we reach out to them individually. It's interesting, it's scary, it's exciting, but I would say that probably the efforts that we have put into reaching our students through technology, through social media, has probably been our biggest emphasis and effort lately.
Mm-hmm. And the infrastructure for bandwidth and internet connectivity, you know, is something that I know that, you know, we certainly struggle with in rural areas of the state. And Pueblo Community College has been doing amazing work with outreach, and your presence that you have in Southwest Colorado in particular. Are you seeing that there are challenges still around bandwidth and accessibility to the internet that may impact students' access to the post-secondary education that PCC offers? And what can we do about that?
Well, there definitely are still challenges. I can tell you personally, 3 or 4 times a day when I'm on a Zoom call or a WebEx call, I get so frustrated when I lose connectivity. So I think we're all experiencing the frustration of the new world that we're living in. Prior to COVID though, Pueblo Community College had made the decision to become a BYOD institution, bring your own device, because we knew that integrating technology into the daily life, having it become part of the whole student, was extremely important. So this is another area where we felt like we had a tiny advantage when we started down the whole COVID road. What we did find though is that while a student may have had a device and enough bandwidth for themselves, when you add the children in the household that now are going remote, that have to be on a computer, who gets the computer? You know, you have 1 computer in your house, now you need 3, and then that bandwidth is eaten up. So it's hard to tell really how this whole thing is going to shake out once K-12 can go back to a more normal routine, and what additional needs we're going to have. So I think that that's still one of the challenges. I think we need to keep that front and center. We need to continue to work with our local municipalities to make sure we have the proper amount of bandwidth, and that it needs to be affordable for our students, so that is not yet another excuse. for them not to pursue their academic career.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So moving away from COVID now, I'd like to shift the conversation and ask you, what advice do you have for new higher education and student affairs professionals? And specifically, what advice do you wish someone had given you?
Well, first of all, we definitely need lots of new, fresh, creative individuals to enter our profession. Our profession, like many professions, we're all growing older and will be moving into retirement. And we want to make sure that the legacy we leave is the next group of leaders who are dynamic, who are flexible, and bring creativity to our industry, to higher education. And so I would encourage, as I encourage everyone, never stop learning. We should all be lifelong learners. The students that are in this class, if you're like Christina, you're already in a profession, you're hopefully working in higher ed, continue to grow, continue to get the education that you need to advance yourself, and don't lose your passion for higher education, and don't become disgruntled because of whatever situation, because of funding, because of the changing environment. Be willing to participate in it. Be willing to share your knowledge and your ideas, and don't sit back and wait for someone else to fix all the problems. Be bold, be courageous, and be willing to participate in a pretty awesome opportunity to make sure that our communities, that our state, that our nation has those highly educated individuals to keep us competitive.
So those are really inspiring words. And I will let you know that we have collected several questions from our students in the class, and we're going to get to some of those. But before I do that, I have one final sort of.
Well, I have a highlight once a year, and that's when I get to be on the stage, shake every student's hand that has graduated, give them their diploma. That's why we're here. And that is definitely the highlight of my career, is just seeing students succeed.
I would agree with you on that one. I love commencement. It's my favorite time of the year. And, I often share with people that when I finished my PhD, my advisor went with me to pick out regalia. And he said, you should get good regalia because you're going to be wearing it. And I have actually worn it. I tell my husband, more often than I've worn my wedding dress. So I feel like
That's for sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to turn now to some of our students' questions. And one of them I was on, figuring out what the priorities are is, I think, one of the most challenging things we do is
we all, and you're going to hear me say this over and over again. And when there's an opportunity that will help us meet our strategic objectives of providing greater access, being able, and affordability, graduate them, transfer them to the four-year institutions, those really are the priorities that I have stayed very true to. And then, you have to ask yourself, with every initiative that you get involved in, is this really in the best interest of students? And is it in the best interest of the employees at the college? And is this in the best interest of the communities that you're serving? Will this ultimately provide a richer environment for people to live in? And if you can say without a doubt, yes, 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 then you know that that's an initiative that you need to pursue.
Awesome, awesome. The next question is focused on, what future student affairs professionals need to be successful. So what do you think that?
It's more than just advising and getting students enrolled and then walking away and making sure, thinking your job is done. I think that, and I talk about this a lot, that our student services professionals should all be TRIO professionals, be well-versed in providing all of the wraparound services that our students need. And we talk a lot about this at PCC. We like to think of ourselves as a TRIO college, if you will, and that our job doesn't end once a student enrolls. We stick with them. We make sure that they are attending class. If they're not attending class, why aren't they attending class? So in many ways, our student services professionals become social workers to some degree. And that also presents some challenges for those individuals. That's a pretty heavy lift, a pretty heavy burden, at least at our institution where we have so many individuals that have so many social cognitive needs. You have to be able to provide students with the support they need without getting enmeshed in their lives so that it sucks the life out of you. So we need to find a balance, and we need to be able to support our student services professionals as well as our students as we move forward in this journey together. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. You brought up supporting our students without getting enmeshed in their lives. And one of the questions is about what does PCC do in particular to support students who are also parents? And so, I'll ask you the question in terms of PCC, but then I'll also ask you to broaden your response a little bit to thinking about, the extent to which, that really is, how that should be integrated, the family integrated into the mission.
We've come to understand and appreciate is that especially with we have to help them survive. And then mental health issues, physical issues, learning disabilities. But it's one thing to tell a student, we have those resources, go down to the learning center, you can find a tutor. It's another thing, families are the most important, have to take responsibility for getting your aunt to the doctor and your cousins here and your cousins there. First of all, you have to take care of yourself so that you can take care of them. And so that takes a lot of developing relationships, knowing where to go to help get them the support and encouraging them to try to balance and grow through their academic experience.
And I think there's some fundamental truths around that, that's true for all people. However, there are also cultural differences. And if you could talk just a little bit about the student population.
So our student demographics, we have about 80% of our students are first generation. About 90% of them are Pell eligible. So we have a large group of individuals that really need that extra support. Every student is unique. Every student that comes to us. So you can generalize, 80% are first generation, 90% are Pell eligible, but within those populations, every one of those students are unique. Every one of those students come to us with a different perspective, with a different need. And what we're trying to do is really take a step back and recognize that and appreciate that from the minute they step foot on the campus to the minute they walk across that stage. Every student, we have to meet the students where they are, and we need to speak to them differently. We have to stop generalizing, and I know I do that a lot. You know, everybody needs to do this. But one thing I will tell you, and I've told this story to my team probably more than they want to hear, but you know, when you think about you want to do something fabulous for your student body, all right, we're going to buy every student a new pair of Nike tennis shoes at the beginning of the year. Great idea. And then you tell purchasing, all right, I want you to go buy 5,000 pair of Nike tennis shoes, size 10. You know, make it easy, buy size 10 for everybody. How many students are going to be able to wear a size 10 tennis shoe? You know, and that's true with everything that our students, it's true with everything about our students. We have to treat them as unique individuals, and we have to tailor our academics, our delivery of academics, our support for them, and make sure that we are flexible enough to understand and appreciate everyone has a different need and a different path.
Right, and so there's a follow-up question that's come in through the chat, and you know it's about specifically thinking about first generation students. The student body at PCC is first generation. So can you speak about how the ecological environment that they find themselves in, how does that impact whether the student is successful or not?
So think about the first day of class. When a student comes and the instructor gives them the syllabi and says, you know, we've all been there, you know, read the syllabi, this is how it's going to work, you know, and now you need to read the first 20 chapters by next Wednesday. And you think about it, and here you have a first generation student, maybe a single mom, trying to hold down a part-time job, trying to get a degree, and we've just told her to read a syllabi that she has never, ever seen. So when she goes home, who does she ask? Who does she say, what's this thing about a syllabi, and what's this thing called a rubric, and how does that work? Who does she ask? She doesn't have that support at home. Plus the fact that now she's been given this enormous amount of homework with children to watch and take care of, and maybe a part-time job to get you through your class. We cannot assume that our first generation students, quite frankly, any of our students, know what all of this means the first day of class.
Right. And I loved your point earlier about, you know, not generalizing and really needing to understand students' what they bring as individuals. I think that's so critically important. And when you think about, you know, how different students' lives affect their ability to focus on their studies, you know, it's not a one size fits all. And I think that's another silver lining that I've identified just in talking to, you know, faculty who have had to do just a yeoman's effort really in terms of being able to pivot quickly, change the way they're teaching, make sure that their courses are accessible and available in different formats, as well as you know, being flexible for students during COVID-19. But I've heard them talking about, you know, really trying to, as you say, meet students where they are, understand, you know, what their challenges are in being able to meet the learning outcomes of the course. And you know, I will admit that I have some hopes that we will begin to have more conversations about, you know, how we can assess prior learning and whether or not, there's an opportunity to bring prior learning into the conversation about meeting learning outcomes. I mean, does every student need to sit through, right, each one of the courses in sequence? I think it's an interesting question that we find ourselves sort of, thinking about at this point in time. So let's see, we're starting to get some questions coming in now, which is fabulous. So here's one. Let's see, is there an introductory course at Pueblo Community College where it immerses students that are new to the college environment? So thinking about those first generation students and the language that we use and not necessarily knowing what a syllabus is, for example, is there a course at PCC that is specifically focused on helping students navigate that college environment?
So yes, we do have a first year experience course that we require all of our students to take. And it does walk the students through the different dynamics, the why of what they're about to do, where the resources are, how to get the support, how to get the help, how financial literacy, how to manage their finances. So we do have a first year experience course that really has been very, very beneficial as we, again, add all kinds of new tools to our toolbox.
Yeah.
This has been one that has, again, very much aligns with the resources that our TRIO students get, and it helps the students begin to build relationships so that they feel comfortable in reaching out. Our students are very, very proud. They don't want the rest of the world to know that they need help. None of us do. But when you develop a culture where it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to show your vulnerability, then the students do respond to you. And when they respond, we all win. Everybody wins.
Absolutely. So speaking of specific tools, there's a question about whether PCC uses Navigate as an assessment tool, or are you using other programs to keep track of student success?
So does everyone know what Navigate means, Valerie?
Probably not. So why don't you give a little bit of a summary of that too?
Yeah. So we are partners with EAB, and it is a company that does a lot of research and provides a lot of support for institutions of higher ed. And yes, we are very much involved with them and offer a platform called Navigate. And what Navigate really does is it helps us align all of our guided pathways and tries to engage students from the very first moment that they think about an education at Pueblo Community College. What are your career interests and what are the different opportunities? And recognizing that let's say you are interested in a healthcare profession, but you're not sure you want to be a nurse, you might want to be a rad tech. So, okay, let's get you into that pathway. Let's make sure that your prereqs are prereqs that will count towards any direction that you go, so that you don't have to take courses over. So we're getting you in, we're getting you on the right path, and we're helping you manage your academic journey so that you don't have to take courses over. And we are also monitoring your performance. And when we see that there's a problem, we have somebody right there. You haven't been to class for 4 days now. A success coach will contact you. What is it that you need? Well, I've had a sick child and I haven't been able to come to class. Well, now we know we can say, no problem, just join remotely and keep going, so lots and lots of I would agree. A lot of good has also come out of this whole COVID mess that we're having. Keep that flexibility. So yes, Navigate is very much a part of the DNA of PCC, and it has really, really been extremely successful, a successful tool for us as we move forward.
So Mark Prickett has asked a question in the chat. He's curious to know how PCC assesses its staff and student affairs services to determine their effectiveness in meeting students' needs.
Oh, well, there's a number of ways that we do that. We have what we call the PCC promise. And at the beginning of every semester and throughout the semester, throughout the course of the year, we tell our students, we're here for you. We're here to greet you. We're here to help you. We're here to support you. We're here to make sure that your unique needs are being met. And then we do a self-assessment every year. We reach out to the students and we say, okay, how are we doing on this promise? Are we living up to our promise? And the students will tell you. And so a lot of that is about the student support and the student, the wraparound services that we provide. So the PCC promise and the assessment that we do each year, we take that very seriously. We also look at retention numbers. We've done extremely well, not as well as I want us to be, but we have increased our retention numbers significantly. That's because we're providing those wraparound services. That's because we're providing that support. And the number of students that are graduating, the number of students that are of color that are graduating, all of our numbers are trending in the right direction. So we do the CESI, we do lots of different, we do a lot of different instruments, but we don't just do them and put them on a shelf. We kind of beat ourselves up every time we get the data back. And what is it that we need to do differently in order to increase retention, persistence, graduation, transfer?
Awesome. I love that PCC promise. And I love what you just described in terms of using data and information to support decision making. So it's a culture of data use and not a thing that you do, right? I mean,
right.
It has to be a system of continuous quality improvement to actually get some benefit out of collecting all of this data that we seem to have available to us now in higher education. Let's put it to good use. So I'm super excited to hear you describe that culture at PCC.
One of the things that we do that I might mention is, we have a strategic plan, and every semester, every employee is asked to contribute data on how they individually have promoted and have played a role in fulfilling the strategic plan. And it must be data driven. It can either be an individual initiative or a group initiative, but we really are asking every employee to invest in our path forward and then tell us what you're doing. And then we prepare a report back to the college every year that says, yes, we've increased retention, graduation, all of our metrics, but this is how we've done it. And then we list all of the different initiatives that our employees have been in. And so it is very much part of our culture that we hold ourselves accountable.
So Allie Langfels is asking, how do you get the buy-in from the faculty and the staff to meet students where they...
When you talk about persistence, you have to be persistent. You have to provide the leadership, you have to walk the walk, you have to talk the talk, you have to have a team around you that believes in it. And it's not easy, but we don't give up. We're relentless. We want to be able to say, without a doubt, we are a student-centric institution, and here's the data to prove it.
Yeah, I want to stay connected with you, just in terms of, some of the things that, I'm trying to do as a dean of the College of Education, and the culture that I'm trying to create within our college, and just really feel like there's opportunities to learn more from you about the way that you're doing it at PCC. So there's a whole bunch of questions, and I want to get to some of them about what it's like to be a woman in higher education leadership, and what advice that you would give specifically to women who want to advance in higher education leadership.
I don't know that I've ever really felt hard done by because I was a woman. If I believe in something and am passionate about it, I go for it. And I guess I don't really know anything different because throughout my entire career, I've had the opportunity to lead different organizations, and yeah, sometimes it's frustrating, when you see a man who might get paid more or have advantages. I don't dwell on that. I just keep moving forward and doing the best I can for the role and mission or whatever the objective of the organization that I've led. And I really haven't allowed myself to get consumed or felt hard done by because things may not have gone my way. I really work hard to make sure that things do go my way. And you surround yourself with great people who help you with that. It's not just one person alone, but if you have a team of people, they make you look good as well. And so you have to recognize that and surround yourself with great people, and not allow yourself to just become consumed with what isn't, but celebrate what is.
Yeah, and I summarize, I think, a lot of what you're describing as saying, you have to be competent, you have to be confident, and you have to be courageous. And I think those three C's really do resonate with a lot of women that I've had the opportunity to be mentored by, and to also have the opportunity to mentor. All of these jobs in leadership and higher education are becoming more and more and more consuming, all consuming. And so there are several questions that students have raised about maintaining work-life balance and avoiding burnout. So if you could speak to perhaps some of the strategies that you use to make sure that you can continue to take care of yourself, so that you can continue to contribute as a leader in higher education and as president of Pueblo Community College.
You're right. It is overwhelming. And what we've had to go through the last 8 months has really been very, very challenging. So you have to take care of yourself. There comes a point in time where you cannot sit at this computer and look at all these squares for infinite periods of time. You have to walk away. You have to get some exercise. When I'm at the college, if I have an hour where I'm not booked, I have a little stair stepper that I go just walk and do some exercise. Exercise really is very, very therapeutic. At the college, we have an individual who provides us with a significant amount of resources. We've been focusing on mindfulness right now and making sure that we take the time to celebrate and appreciate the good things that are going on. You cannot allow yourself to just be consumed with the negativity. And I think that that's really important when you're looking for work-life balance. You have to be able to go home and whether it's exercise or read, you have to get away from it. And the technology has not been a friend in that regard. We are constantly looking at our phones, we're constantly on the computer. That's not healthy. You have to be able to enjoy your family, you have to be able to enjoy your friends, you have to be able to appreciate the life that you've been given. And we all work so that we have a great life, and you certainly don't want to end your career and regret that you didn't enjoy your family and your friends and your surroundings. I think you're on mute now, Valerie.
There we go. How's that?
Good,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Perfect. So we have another question from Lavino Johnson. How does PCC, Community College, Pueblo Community College ensure diversity amongst their instructors and professors to ensure that the people teaching reflect the student population that they serve? For example, people of color, women, LGBTQ, etc.
Sure. Well, that is the question of the day, isn't it? That is what we all are struggling with, we recognize the importance of it, but making it happen has to start with the recruiting process. We've looked at our search teams, making sure, first of all, that we have diversity on our search and screen teams, making sure that the qualifications that we're looking for are not so stringent that, who really could apply for the job. And so that deters a lot of people. So looking at the minimum qualifications opposed to, the perfect employee. Many times the perfect employee is the one who possesses minimum qualifications. So making sure that our qualifications have that right balance, I think, is really, really important in being able to attract a more diverse population. But it is one of the most important things that we're looking at right now. And that's tough. When you think about our campuses in Canyon City, attracting diversity is pretty darn hard. And even in the southwest corner of the state. So we have to work really hard at, number one, providing an environment that attracts and promotes that diversity, and that people will feel comfortable coming and working in an environment where we are looking to build more diversity. We have to have some courageous people step up and say, yeah, I'm willing to join that institution and help lead that crusade, instead of shying away and looking for jobs where there may be more people that look like them as colleagues. So it's kind of a two-way street. You're on mute again.
There we go. I've had to turn my computer on mute because the door keeps opening and closing, and we have a security system. So I was trying to make sure that wasn't showing up on our audio, but maybe I just have to ignore that. So we're coming down to the wire now, and we're at our last question. And I want you to pause and think about all of the different professional development opportunities you may have had an opportunity to engage in over the course of your career, and other than the PhD program. So let's leave that one sort of off the table. Which ones have been most transformational for you, and why?
Well, I have had the opportunity to do two professional developments that really impacted me quite a bit. One of them was with the Center for Creative Leadership right there in Colorado Springs. Oh my God, that is the most humbling experience you can possibly go through. They really force you to look deep down in your soul and take a look at what kind of leader you are and how your character can impact people either positively or negatively. That was very impactful, and in many ways, as I said, very humbling, but also really provide you with some tools to just be better, to just approach your leadership style differently and in a way that will have more of a positive impact. I've had the opportunity to do it twice, once before I was in higher ed, and then once as a higher ed professional, both times. Again, I think I just walked away with a renewed commitment to be the best person I can be, and to recognize that leadership is about embracing people, not telling them what to do, and that's not a leader. A leader is really being authentic and surrounding yourself with people that you can help grow. So I'd say that probably was the professional development. I obviously enjoy going to higher ed conferences where you have an opportunity to learn from colleagues. Sometimes you do feel like you're the only one in the world that is having certain problems. When you go to conferences like the American Association of Community Colleges and you get to see colleagues doing fabulous things, they say imitation is the best compliment. I bring back lots of great ideas that I hear from different colleges and integrate them. So I think I've been very fortunate in my career to have had a lot of opportunities to continue to learn.
Well, our Chancellor, Venkat Reddy, wants to express that he has really enjoyed listening to you and looks forward to strengthening our relationship between our institutions, which I think is a wonderful thing to end our conversation on. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you also for being with us today. I want to say congratulations to you on being honored as a UCCS Distinguished Alumnus, and we are #Mountain Lion proud to call you an alumna of the College of Education. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd also like to thank all of our participants who've joined us today and invite you all to follow us on Twitter @ed_UCCS and be well, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it very much.